Greetings, you're watching video B on Miradi dashboard reporting. This is the second of 5 recordings from the Miradi session at the 2018 CCNET Rally. You can access the link to the playlist of all 5 videos and direct links to any of the videos by clicking on the Show More link in the video description located below the playback window.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, I'm just going to take you through the Bush Heritage dashboard that we've been working on over the last year. This is an example report for healthy landscape managers. So they're managers at a kind of mid-level and manage landscapes across Australia. This is Power BI, so it's part of the Microsoft Office 365 program. And at the moment, I'm just on a project overview screen. I'm just going to make that bigger so it takes up the whole screen. Great. So this shows all of our properties and partnerships across Australia. So you can see there that's the hectares total. And then I can drill down to the west region. So our Bush Heritage, our operations are broken up into 4 different areas. So then we're going down to how much is in actual west region hectares. I'll drill down a bit further to a priority landscape. So again, we're going drilling down a little bit more. And I'm going to choose Miradi is going to be our special property today. If you just hover over any of these little symbols, you'll get some more detail behind that. So that'll show you the hectares and what the reserve is. And where it is within the landscape. What else have we got? If you just hover over any of these things, we've got target liability here. Just gives you a little bit more, just drills down to a little bit more detail. Financials, again, if I just hover over there, you've got employment, income. Oh, sorry. Is my turn there? Yeah. All right. And then down here we've got targets and the baseline and the status, future viability ratings, the threat. If I hover over here for endangered species, it will give you the list of some of the endangered species on the property. So it's pretty powerful stuff. I'll go into another page here now, which is project progress. So to update. So I'm still at Miradi Reserve, and here we've got the budget against the actual, so what we budgeted for and what we're actually spending. Up here we've got by activity codes. If I just click on re-veg, it's going to drill in and give me some more detail around what we're doing with that particular strategy. So we've got payments that we've been making, so some of those invoices, progress reports against that, so we know how we're tracking against the activities. And then it also will show us what grants we've got that are related to those particular activities and that particular strategy. And then over here, which is a really powerful tool for managers, is to be able to see how we're tracking against our budgets and our actuals. And again, across just in relation to all of this, we've got our progress report strategy bar, which will just show us how we're tracking on that. I might just go into a progress detail tab. So I think this page is brilliant because this is something we've been asking for a while, which is basically, it seems pretty simple, but to be able to get it on one page is pretty amazing that how much money you've got and how much you've got left to actually spend. So, and to see that on a bar is pretty amazing. So you just hover over there and you've spent 79 and you've got another 11,000 to spend. Then you've got your list of active grants. So some of our properties and projects will have a number of grants, and project managers need to be able to track. Okay, I've got $10,000 for this grant. How am I tracking towards spending that money? And then you'll get the payments of each of the invoice payments here. And this little graph here is basically what we received. Is that right? And then the red is what we spent. Is that correct? Yeah. So that's a pretty awesome page, I reckon. And then we've got our income. We've got any income coming in from that reserve. Program progress. So this is looking at the program level dashboard. I'm just in the fire program at the moment. And we can see across all of our 5 program projects that we've got, thankfully, most of them are on track. We've got a couple of minor issues with some others, and they might be we need to do some fire breaks or a range of different reasons why that might be the case. But if you're a manager, or you can see where you need to kind of focus that attention on some of those, if you've got any major or minor issues. You can see it all on the one page instead of having to drill down and read through pages and pages of text. And then here we've got another bar chart here, which basically just breaks it up into properties. And here we've got a little bit of the narrative around, for each project, what's actually happening on that program. So if you want to get into some text-based stories, you'll be able to see it here.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Can I just make one clarification? This is a really important concept that maybe not everyone's familiar with. What's being presented here is this idea that when we think about the world, we divide the world into, you have an overall program, which might be your work in Western Australia, and then you have a series of projects, which are individual projects that you're working on. So what's being shown here is this relationship, which is talking about programming. Such a program report is reporting on the sum total of what's happening in all those individual projects, or you can drill down and see what's happening on the individual projects. Does that make sense to folks? So that's the context when you look at program progress. How are we doing across this entire area? Or when you look at project progress, how are we doing on these projects? So that's a really important kind of conception of how this is organized.
And I had a question about that. So when you initially filtered for the West region and then a particular project, that does not apply to this tab, right? This tab has no filters for scale.
That's right. Yeah, filtering on fire as a type of activity across all projects.
And so just so you know where this comes from, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
But where this comes from is what Bush Heritage has created is individual Miradi files for each of these projects, but all using standard technical, standard code, standard ways of doing information, so that then when you want to roll that information up at a program level, you can do that as well. So it's based on underlying data in Miradi files for the projects, as well as sort of an overall program level.
So this is the Microsoft BI is just pulling this information live out of Miradi as we're going through for?
No.
Right now we're extracting, just running reports to dump data out of Miradi Share, and our finance system and our business system, and then Power BI is reading that. So we've got a monthly refresh arrangement, and that's primarily because our finance people will only put out data every month when they finish all the reconciliations and stuff that they have to do. So there's a good reason for monthly finance data, so we've lined up the other systems to follow that same model, so people can update any time, but we'll extract the data every month.
Okay, so Power BI is using Miradi and your finance system and other systems to put everything together for you.
And that's a really important decision we made in Miradi world, but you guys have kind of led us to, is that we could have tried to create all these dashboard tools ourselves, put it in Miradi Share and allow you to have access to it, but we can't compete with what Microsoft can do in terms of their power of reporting. So what we're doing is we're taking the data that are in Miradi Share, and then that's it, and allow you to then combine it with finance information or information from other systems and create using the structures and tools of Power BI to then allow people to see these kind of dashboards.
Other things, we use Heritage, all our finance expenses for all our streams and activities go into Miradi. So we do have a system for our accounting with paying invoices. So we're putting all our budgets for the year and that into Miradi. Yeah.
So forward-looking budgeting is being done in Miradi, but backwards-looking actual is done in the accounting system, and we're using Power BI to bring those two worlds together.
And that's so useful as a manager, to see how you track it instead to where you know, how much have you got and where are you at on a monthly basis.
And on the one page too, you don't have to go into
But that's
multiple
very
systems.
deliberate, because if we ask your projects, your organization, to put their actuals in Miradi, they didn't want to do it because every organization already has their own finance data. We don't want to recreate that, but we want to link to that information.
Is there a, when you say you're updating this monthly, is there a subscription to Power BI to do that? What's the arrangement to use Power BI? Power BI is part of Microsoft Office 365 suite, which is gives you Word and PowerPoint and all that other things. And there's various licensing arrangements for that. We're not profit pricing of that from Microsoft there. And so you get a base level of Power BI as part of a base level Office 365 license. Then there's scaling those licenses like all software. So if you want to do some of this sort of stuff, you need to select the Pro license. That's $3 a month or something. So it's not exorbitant, but it's
and the Miradi team is also going to, once we have these concepts from these guys, we're going to go and put Microsoft, so we kind of work stuff out with them. Use Power BI.
How much? I'll just show one more page, which is our target page. And this is for a different area for Sterling. And so it's basically got a list of our targets, and then we can see it pulls out the attribute table, so we can see what our attributes, our indicators, and what are our measures and how we're tracking against those. So you can drill in a little bit more of that really impacts how we're making an impact on the target health, which is the whole purpose of the project in the first place. So I think this is another good page. You can see what our threats are and what our current threat levels are, and then the latest ratings. I'm losing my voice. The latest ratings based on the year. So you can just hover over that. And for example, we've got here the attribute water quality, and the indicator is the conductivity. So that's just the measure there. And I think that's about it. Do you want me to present that and present it for just 1
Yeah.
minute?
I'm going to add one more thing on that's very much in development, and we actually got this working last week with working with a few other developers who are creating pieces to help build this picture. So,
Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of all this other stuff. There you go. Yeah.
So this, I'm in the sort of development version of all this right now, and this is the page that Claire just showed you. I'll just flip to another property where we've got our test data that sort of proves the concept of this piece of the puzzle, which is a property in South Australia. Most of the mapping support that's in Power BI at the moment will only let you show points, and you can colour those points by data, but they're only points, and points aren't much use to us because we've been given that spatial stuff. So this is another version now where there's software coming along that's allowing shapes of spatial data to be associated with, and we'll come back to Australia in a moment, to allow shapes with data from Miradi. So these are the targets that one reserves, and the colouring is a bit wonky at the moment, so they're the colours have been based on the viability ratings of those targets within the one project. So we had a conversation with these Mapbox, other people creating this particular piece of their puzzle. They're quite excited about the possibility of working together and all that. So if we can, it's all sort of, it's real life stuff for us and we're using it, but it's really proving the concept of just the power of data in a bigger sort of ecosystem system. And so now packaging that up and working with the Microsofts of the world and the Mapboxes of the world, and trying to provide a sort of suite of tools so that anyone using Miradi can just get that suite and plug your data in where you go and don't have to do all the development.
Okay, so yeah, this is both Claire and Annette said, this is pretty cutting edge use of data, cloud-based data visualization tools that have come a long ways in the last couple of years. We have had some conversations, and we are in ongoing conversations with Microsoft. They have a conservation department. They're really interested in partnering with us on this. So really hopeful that a lot of that information that we support in Miradi can be displayed through these kind of interactive, drillable, and now spatially enabled dashboards as well. So pretty exciting new development. Other questions before we move into the what's new section, some of the upcoming features? Yeah.
So how much technical skill is required to create one of these pages in Power BI?
Not a huge amount, to be frank. I expect that, and I'm not particularly moved. We have had really good help from a data specialist who has helped us set up the data relationships behind the scenes, the data models, if you like, and that's a bit technical. But then doing simple charts and the like, it's just like in Excel where you can create charts once you know how to drive the charts in Excel. It's Excel on steroids, this stuff. And so anyone who's a little bit geeky will just play with all these things, and these are all the different visualizations, the different mapping tools, different ways of showing information. And then once you've got all your data in there, you literally drag the fields into the buckets and put it.
So the challenge is the data in getting it in that format. It's then easily accessible and it's pretty key.
And the way this market's evolving is there's a whole bunch of visuals that just come with the package, and there's a whole market out there of people developing what's called custom visuals. And some of those right now are free, but some are starting to come along that are quite sophisticated and there's a fee associated. What I want to see is the Miradi pack of custom visuals that you plug in, and then it already knows the Miradi data structures. You suck your data out of Miradi Share, or when we get an API, it can go into Miradi Share. And then you get straight away a threat table and all the things that people are familiar with their data in it. And that's, that can just be delivered as a set of custom visuals. Have just the Miradi custom visual pack already. And then you don't have to do all of the documents. That's feasible.
That's magic.
That's feasible magic. Yep.
Or maybe for Annette, that map, the spatial information that you just showed, is that being pulled out of the spatial component of Miradi Share?
Not right now. It can, Mapbox will deal with any shape or can get out of Google Earth or whatever.
Right.
But you have to be able to associate it with the Miradi data.
Right.
So really basic stuff. We have to use the ID field in Miradi to say target number 1.
Yeah.
And here at Bonbon, here's the shape file for target number 1.
But we should have to do that too.
That concludes this video in the playlist of Miradi recordings from the CCNET Rally Miradi session. Click on the Show More link in the video description below to access the playlist or direct links to the other 4 videos.